The Nephilim were not born with a sense of fear, but as the shadow of the coming flood stretched across the earth, dread crept into their mighty hearts. Giants, beings of immeasurable strength, awoke in the dead of night, their roars echoing across the mountains. Their dreams were dark and filled with omens, roaring waters, endless and wild, consuming all in their path. They saw themselves submerged, their colossal forms dragged down into a watery grave. And with each dream, the terror grew. Mahwe, the son of the watcher Barakel, was the first to speak of the visions. He trembled as he described a tablet in his dreams, covered in strange symbols, slowly sinking into the depths of a raging sea. And when it was lifted again, only a few names remained. The other giants gathered around him, their faces pale with fear. "What does it mean?" they growled, their voices filled with panic. But Mawe could only shake his head, his gaze distant. "It means we are doomed." Desperation took hold of them. Even the most defiant of the Nephilim felt it. The once mighty creatures, beings who had devoured entire nations, now turned to the heavens, their eyes wide with terror. But it was too late. The visions had begun to twist and turn, warping into grotesque images of their own deaths. They saw the mountains crumble beneath the weight of the flood, their monstrous bodies shattered against the rocks as the waters devoured the earth. And so, like frightened children, they ran to their fathers, the fallen angels who had brought them into being. But the Watchers too were plagued by fear. They had heard the voice of judgment that echoed from on high. They knew their time was short. The Most High had decreed their fate, and all the pleas of their children could not stay the hand of the Creator. With heavy hearts, the fallen angels sought out Enoch, the man who walked with God. They came to him in the dead of night, their celestial forms dim and shadowed, and knelt before him, their once proud faces bowed low.
"Intercede for us,"
they begged, their voices broken by despair.
"Speak to the Most High. Plead for our children. Ask him to let them live for 500 years. Spare them from this doom."
Their words fell like rain upon Enoch's ears, but he remained unmoved. He had seen too much, understood too well the destruction they had wrought. He stood in silence as the heavens trembled, his gaze piercing through the veil of their sorrow.
"The Creator's judgment is set."
Enoch replied, his voice low and firm.
"No plea can turn back the flood. That is to come."
The angels wept, their cries rising into the storm-filled sky. But Enoch turned away, his heart heavy with sorrow. He knew what must be done. The flood would come, and the world would be cleansed of all the corruption. Yet, even as he walked away from the fallen, his steps slow and burdened, a new command reached him, a voice calling him to prepare for his own journey. It was the Most High bidding him to set his house in order. The time had come for him to depart from the world of men. And so Enoch gathered his family, his son Methuselah standing before him. "The end is near," Enoch whispered, his gaze distant. "The waters will cover the earth. You must guide Noah. Pass on the warnings, for he alone will carry the last remnant of life through the storm." Methuselah's eyes filled with tears, but he nodded, his shoulders trembling under the weight of Enoch's words. "But what of you, father? Will you not stay?" And Enoch, with a sad smile, shook his head. "I am called to a higher place. My time here is done." As Enoch spoke, the sky above darkened, the winds roared, and the earth trembled as a great light descended, a chariot of fire, its wheels spinning with the fury of the heavens. Flames, bright and pure, wrapped around the chariot, casting a radiant glow across the trembling earth. Enoch stepped forward, his face serene, and as his family watched, he was lifted into the air, his form bathed in celestial light. The chariot's wheels turned faster and faster, a whirlwind of holy fire, and in a flash Enoch was gone. Taken up into the heavens, a man transformed, bound for the stars. But as he ascended, a single word echoed through the storm, a whisper that lingered long after he had vanished into the night. Prepare for the flood. And the giants, scattered across the land, felt the cold grip of fate tighten around them. The waters would rise, and there would be no escape. The sky split open, and the heavens unleashed a torrent that shook the very foundations of the world. From the depths of the earth, water erupted in furious geysers, turning fields into churning seas and forests into shadowed ruins. The giants, the Nephilim, mighty and terrible, ran in blind panic, their roars of terror reverberating through the storm. They raced to the highest peaks, their colossal forms silhouetted against the angry sky. But no height could save them. The flood surged upward, swallowing the mountains whole, pulling even the tallest of them down into its relentless grasp. Their cries were deafening, mingling with the shrieks of creatures even more monstrous than they. Grotesque beasts born of forbidden unions, with scales like iron and claws like sharpened stone. The tannin, the serpentine abominations, twisted and writhed, their massive bodies flailing against the rising waters. In a desperate frenzy, they turned toward the Ark, a solitary beacon of hope amid the dark, swirling sea. The beasts hurled themselves against its wooden walls, their claws gouging deep, their jaws snapping with the fury born of despair. But the Ark held firm, its hull groaning and creaking, the only vessel of salvation amidst a world drowning in chaos. Humanity, too, fell beneath the wave. Villagers and kings, warriors and children, all were swept away in the unrelenting tide. Men clung to the tops of trees, their hands slipping as the branches snapped and the waters pulled them under. Others scrambled up crumbling cliffs, their eyes wide with terror as they watched the monstrous forms of giants and beasts rise above them. But no scream, no prayer, no desperate plea could stay the flood's hand. The waters climbed ever higher, silencing all in its path. Bodies, both great and small, drifted lifelessly in the churning sea. Creatures of the earth, creatures of the sky, and creatures of the deep, all bound by the same grim fate.